I am. All right, back for another little video. Just gonna talk probably pretty quickly about uh, this topic. I had tweeted some stuff, so I figured I'll make a little video about it because it could be beneficial. All right, so I think I might have mentioned this before in some other video, how in the ascension process, there's this figure of 85% roughly that comes up to kind of denote the ratio of beings that uh, tend to make it to the next stage of things, and that's reflected in a few different places in nature. And I think if I did mention it, I probably would have mentioned it in the case of uh, like when all the turtles hatch. I think it might be in the Galapagos or something, where I saw it on the Discovery Channel or something way back in the day. It just stuck with me for some reason. Where all the turtles, there's like hundreds of them, and but they're these birds that are these demons or these whatever they are from the point of view of the turtle. They're trying to eat you, so call them whatever you want. These birds, they know that these beings are going to hatch, and they know that it's kind of easy pickings, but there's a lot of them. So, you could say, the fastest ones make it, the ones that are destined make it, the whatever, the most fit make it. But here we find this 85% figure where 85% of the turtles don't make it from the dimension of the beach to the dimension of the water where they can develop and grow into their next stage of existence. But there was another example that is a little closer to home in a sense, maybe, as a human, and that's your inception into the reality in general from your transition from wherever you were before until this. And that's when the conception actually takes place between the sperm and the egg. And obviously we know that during the during that scenario there's millions and millions of these little seeds that are injected into this world essentially, which is the female body. And their mission is to get to their next body, the vessel that they're going to grow up into, which is the egg. So vessels come out of eggs, right? So they're trying to merge with their next vessel, which appears to them as a light, you could say, like the sun. Like it's what they're headed towards. It's like we all kind of have this idea, probably if you're watching this video, that we're going somewhere, something's about to happen, but we don't really, maybe we all don't know exactly what's going to happen, and we're just kind of putting all the pieces together. But we just have like this, I don't even necessarily want to call it an instinct, but this drive, this knowingness, this awareness that, you know, a lot of stuff that's going on out here really ain't what it's all about. So, and once we gain a little bit of confidence and a little bit of courage and a little bit of discipline, we tend to start leaping, you know, very quickly past a lot of the individuals who, don't seem to really share that drive. And that's what this video is really about, is uh, observing, you know, what the correspondence is here. Because if you observe under the microscope, the ones that don't make it, uh, they say that they are lazy, unmotivated, deformed, directionless. These are the sperm that don't make it into the cervix. That's only the 15% make it into the cervix, but only one, you could say only one or two or three maybe make it actually into an egg. So this is just like the almost like a preliminary stage in a sense, just to kind of really just get rid of the ones that are really just duds, the ones that just aren't, they're just not gonna make it. They're just not cut out for this. So, and it's not good or bad. It's just they just die. They die. They cease to exist because their purpose. They have no purpose, and that's being in. I want to choose my words carefully with this, but um, suffice it to say, that if they are not in alignment, that's another thing. If they're not in alignment, let's say the woman is not ovulating during that time, so they're not in alignment. So the male and all this is happening out of alignment. So they're trying to have this orgasmic process or this, this merging, but it's not even time for that to happen in a sense. And you can say it's for other reasons, but if you're trying to make a child, then it's not going to work unless it's in alignment. And when it's not alignment, that hole is sealed with mucus. And so the same thing that keeps you sealed out, when it is in alignment, that actually, you could say, it kind of melts and it kind of merges the two dimensions. It merges like the wall where you're kind of where the pool is, where the little swimmers are just sitting there, and then to the up to the hole, because they can't just jump up there, right? So this mucus comes down and it creates this bridge, literally a bridge. So you can go look this up. It creates a bridge between the cervix and where the sperm are. So the sperm have like a rope or a ladder to climb up and to get into the hole. But most of them, the vast majority of them, don't. That's too much work for them, essentially. Like they would rather just sit in the reality of the pool that they're living in, and everything's fine right now, so fuck it, basically. And they're thinking whatever they're thinking that is keeping them stagnant. It doesn't really matter what you think is going on. It's just, are you stagnant or are you not? Like, are you moving, or are you just not moving? Like, are you expanding? Are you headed somewhere? Like, do you have a purpose? Are you getting closer to yourself? Do you exist? Because to exist is to be in motion. It's to have a vibration. And some vibrations, it's like if you're playing in an orchestra, there might be some vibrations that take place in the beginning of the song that aren't there at the end of the song. So, you know, it's you might have had if your identity is small, you might have a very small role in the universe, as in you don't last for very long. And that nobody's saying that's good or bad, but this is for those who really feel a little more, maybe a little more epic in their scope of, you know, their journey as a whole. So, I don't want to get too long-winded about the little parts of it, I guess, but so 15% roughly make it up that bridge into the cervix. But this is really just the first step, because naturally, and this is a very deep concept, but I'll try to explain it the best I can, or you can just try to read between the lines. But the 15% that make it into the cervix, they now face the wrath. I don't want to call it the wrath. I mean, they face the danger. We'll say it doesn't even have to be a danger. It really is up to the reflection of that individual seed, because they're going to be facing their own darkness, essentially, because that's what the feminine energy is it's darkness. So from a scientific point of view, these seeds are facing the immune system of the female, because the female interprets these beings as alien. And, you know, one way, a balanced way, from my point of view, to look at this is to just recognize that in the same way that, you're engaging with a female and she may be playing hard to get, or, this game, it's like something that's, it's generally, if something is easy, it's somehow less attractive in a sense. So this is kind of the same thing playing out on a different type of scale, where you want to come into this egg, like you want to come and merge with this vessel and basically allow your DNA to absorb and utilize this grounding force, which is the feminine. Then you have to prove yourself, right? You have to go through the trials. You have to be initiated. It could be said that technically, to a certain extent, the ones who make it into the cervix have been initiated. And the initiations you see with the secret societies, they go through their own, because they're trying to copy. They're trying to take the laws of heaven and bring them to earth. And it's somewhat artificial. The more organic initiations really are really with organic masters and, things like that. Or maybe somewhat more often in these times, very personally, just with inside yourself, with some unseen forces that are initiating you throughout your life and preparing you for the experiences that you'll need to be successful wherever it is that you're going. So it was referred to, this immune system that they have to go through was referred to as a maze, literally a maze. So you get these movies like Maze Runner, and so this is all going into your subconscious, because this is what you are. You're literally right now a sperm inside the tunnel, finding basically to head towards your rebirth, because once you go into the egg, you cease to be a sperm, so there's the death. But you become something new because you merge with something greater than yourself, so this is the rebirth. And that's what an ascension is, right? So you also see this in, I don't know, like, I guess recommending things to watch or whatever, but if you're watching them anyway, I would definitely recommend checking out Westworld, because Westworld has a lot of layers to it, and it's a pretty deep show. And they talk about in that show about, I guess if you haven't seen it, then you haven't seen it. But a brief summary is there's these creators create this world, and they're basically creating very lifelike beings there, where humans can go and interact with these beings and live out their fantasies, whether that be with a prostitute or shooting somebody or being in a war or whatever it is. And that's the idea. But in the behind the scenes, there's a lot of depth to what's going on. And one of the little main kind of stories of all this is that the beings that were created to live in this world, they start to remember that they're in a loop. And I should make a whole nother video about loops, because closing the loops in your life, this really has a lot to do with mastering time and making your energy very efficient and amplifying yourself so that you can do what you need to do. But that's probably a whole nother video with the whole loop thing. So yeah, so in Westworld, the beings who start to kind of remember, they become initiated in a sense to go through this maze. Like, one of the creators who's dead, because there's kind of like a good creator and then a not good creator, right? And they made it together. So the good creator, he died, but he instilled this code, or this very primal programming into the hosts, which are the artificial beings that are there. But he, in his genius, must have predicted that organic consciousness may rise up in these artificial vessels, right? Like, they might actually be able to attain souls if they can concentrate their light. Like, if they can concentrate their attention and become self-aware, they could gain a soul. So, and I guess they're not really spelling that out at this point, but you can draw these conclusions pretty easily. So yeah, I guess the point is that if you're kind of looking around and wondering, like, why is everybody maybe not doing the same things that you feel like you're doing, or like, is that, or like one of this, like, oh, everybody's gonna make it, right? That's what, like, a lot of the new age people like to say, everybody's gonna make it. But nothing really in nature shows us that. Nothing in nature really shows us that. You really reap what you sow. So if you're counting on, some other being to just do it for you, then you're really in no better position than the countless masses that are waiting on some savior to come do everything for them. And that's, in my opinion, not really what this is all about. Like, that just doesn't even make sense. Why would you create all this just for the whole point to be to worship? Like, you see, like, just give all your power away. Like, why even give you power in the first place if I'm just going to take it away? It doesn't make sense. I would give you power so that you could become a creator in your own right. But you may have a limited sense of power until you can responsibly use the power that you've been given. And that seems a much more, reasonable and wise path to take as the creator. And, as far as truth is concerned, all that truth really is, because we're speaking languages, and as I'm speaking things, I have in my consciousness what I'm expressing, but whoever's listening to this can only interpret through their filters and their own judgments. So whatever truth is, truth in a perfect world, truth is simply an expression or a projection that includes all the basic energetic principles, that everything has its place. So you might have the correspondent of all the colors of the rainbow, but the red ones might be the bad ones and the blue ones might be the good ones and the purple ones. And you get all these stories like this with all these factions doing all these different things, and you can storify and dramatize these basic energetic principles however you want. So there's many different versions of the same story that you see going around because it's just the elements playing themselves out how they do. It's just like it's very scientific, I guess, but it's deeper than scientific, obviously. Um, Obviously, if you take heat and you put it up against water, then you're going to get steam. It's like you can make that a war. Like you could make that into a movie where, the water is this force and the fire is this force and they come together and they're creating this steam and the steam is really powering another force. So there's this force up here who wants steam, who manipulates the water and the fire to go to battle with each other so they can harness their energy. And so you could see that this is exactly the type of thing that's playing out in the world, where there's a being who knows about alchemy, who knows about the deeper mysteries, because there's history, his story, and then there's the mystery or the my story. We're dealing with the mystery schools and all like that. So, uh, yeah. So I just it seems to me, that there's kind of this divide between, you know, the more traditionally satanic route, which is more every man for themselves, survival of the fittest, which is necessary for, you know, progression and evolution. And then you have the other side, which is more like the Luciferianism type mentality, which is more like, you know, just like the light, everything is just love and light, and that's just all that there is, and we're all just gonna ascend to 5D, and that's just we'll just wait for it. It's coming. Just keep waiting. You know, it's just it's like I don't even really know where to go with this at this point because I don't want to sit here and talk about it forever. But things like going vegan, these are very basic things. They're powerful things. Don't get me wrong. But if a being was listening to this video and was like, "Oh, I'm vegan and this and that," and now I'm just kind of waiting for the aliens to come off the spaceship and pick my vegan ass up because I'm so much better than everybody else, then you know you're probably in for maybe somewhat of a surprise because we are all headed towards the point where everything clashes, where everything comes together. And if you haven't taken the darkness in yourself and the light in yourself and brought them together already in yourself, the darkness and the light on the earth are being forced together regardless. This is how you generate energy. You have to put the two together so there can be, an explosion or an implosion. So you have to do that inside yourself. And then once you do that, you can move throughout time because time is just when things were, you could say, time is when things were further apart or things were closer together. Basically, like if you look at the Big Bang, that's the beginning of time in a sense because things are moving at a distance at a certain rate. So at this point in time, things are closer together. In this point in time, things are further apart. So if you can navigate those forces inside yourself, then you can move throughout time yourself. You can see how all time is really right now. Everything that has ever taken place ever is happening right now. It's just based on your own focus, it may be more amplified or less amplified for you. And that could be for a lot of people based on who seems to be, you know, be yelling the loudest, I guess, So, uh, yeah, I think that might be kind of what I was going through in this. I guess, with the whole, as you're going through the maze, and again, it's